Hello, what's up guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In the last video we have seen that how you can create a new screen and navigate from your home screen to this new screen, and we call that new screen as my simple dialog. So in today's video we will see how you can create a list of kittens here, uh, and on top of each item you will display this nice looking material dialog. And guys, if you're new here, you can see my GitHub page as well. The link is available in the description section. You can come here, you can download and clone this whole project which I am making tutorial right now. So I will cover all of these design aspects of Flutter in this tutorial series. So in today's episode we will see how you can build out your my simple dialog screen, which is having this list view and a nice little material uh, dialog. So let's start. So for that you have to describe your list of items. So in the model folder we will create another model which we will call as kittens kittens dot. So in that kittens dot we will define our model class. Let's create it quickly. Class, we will call it kitten, and inside that we will describe, let's say, final string name of the kitten, and then final int age of the kitten, and then we will define description, and, lastly we will have string type image URL like that. And we will define a constructor for that kitten, and we will say this dot name, this dot age, this dot description, and this dot image URL like that. So our model class has been created successfully. Now in my simple dialog I have copied some code to create this list of um, kittens. So how you can create that? You just have to define a final list of kitten model that we have just created. We will call it kittens, and it will have kitten, and we will have this particular array. So inside that I have copied all the code, so I will paste like that. So you can see we have all of the list items described as an object of the kitten model that we have created yet. And that model we have name, age, description, and image URL like that. So nothing fancy. So we will consume this kittens list inside our list_view.builder. So first we will say we have kittens.count, or sorry, length. So in the item builder we will define something like, you can say, our list item builder. So guys, you can also maintain your code by defining other methods inside your class, so that you don't have to mess up all of your code inside this build method. So let me explain in a bit. So I will create a new method which is returning a widget, which will return a widget, and we call that method name is list item builder like that. And it will take couple of parameters like build context, and other one would be integer type index. So we will create this method, and inside that method we will return the whole widget which we want to render here as an item of list view. So we will call it list item builder. So the underscore sign um, before the function name shows that this function is private. So in Dart, if you put underscore before the variable name and before the function name, so it will act as a private member. So we will return something here as an item of the list view. What we will return, the first thing, on top of the as a parent widget, we will use something like gesture detector. So gesture detector will take a child because gesture detector has a property called OnTab, so we can use that. In the previous couple of videos you have seen that I have created this list view builder, and as an item I have used this list tile, and that list tile has a property called OnTab which we consumed it. So in this list view we are creating something like a customized kind of list view, so that we don't have to return this list tile, we have to return our own items and on tab as well. So for that on tab we will use this gesture detector. So first of all we will define this on tab. So for on tab it will take empty parameters, or we will return something here in on tab. Okay, sorry guys, the O will be small as a property. So after on tab we will define child of this gesture detector. So in that child we will use container. So for container we will give a nice little padding. For padding we will use edge insects dot only. So edge insects have few other methods as well. Previously we have used this edge insects dot all methods. All means from all four sides, top, left, right and bottom. And if you use only, it will ask you from which side you want to give padding. So I will use only, and inside that only we will say from left side we need a padding of 16. So it's very simple. Next we will give it a little bit alignment. Alignment would be um, let's say alignment dot center left. You will see the output in a bit. So for that containers child, what we will define here, okay, you can say, so we can say in that container we have an image view, and then we have a title of that particular list item. So we will define a row property. So row is kind of your left item and right item, and then as a horizontal pattern, row acts as a horizontal pattern, and the column widget is act as a vertical pattern. So all of your widgets inside row is displaying as a row. So we will use this row component, and row, inside that row widget we have list of children's like that. So first thing we will define is container, and that container is to displaying the image which we have for each kitten. Right here we will display a rounded image. You can see on that screen we have rounded image, and then we have a title of that list item. So for that, first child of that row would be container, and we will define some static width and height. Sorry, width, let's say we can call 50, and same height would be 50. So next we will say we need to use a decoration. So container has a property called decoration, and we give a nice decoration for our container. So we will use box decoration for now. So inside that box decoration we have other bunch of properties, like we can give it a color. So for color we will use colors dot green for now, and for image there is an image property in box container. We will use a decoration image. So for decoration image widget we have a property which is mandatory, which is required as well. So in that image we will use network image, and we need to give it a URL as a string. So we already have an image URL inside this kittens list. So what we will say, kittens, so list of kittens on a particular index. So index, we will pass that index here as well. So for that particular index we have an image URL. So this is very simple. And for the fit property we will say like that, box fit, something like box fit and dot cover. So it will display as a cover image. And we just missed the comma here. Now what we can do afterwards, so for we have completed our box decoration, and for that after that box decoration we will define the border radius. So uh, we can say this is our end of box decoration. So border radius, we will say okay, so we are defining this border radius inside box decoration. So we will say border radius, and border radius will be border radius. So everything I am using here inside is a widget. Everything is widget, like border radius, network image, box decoration, decoration image, everything is called as widget. So these all are provided inside material dot dot, like I have defined earlier as well. So border radius has a method called all. So inside we will call radius dot circular, and we will give it a radius. Let's say we will give it 50. 50 would be enough, I guess. So for border we will say we will give it a border as well, border dot all, and we can say color would be colors dot teal, and width of that we can say, let's say we will give it a 3 width. Alright, so the next thing would be after that container we will use a widget called Sizebox. So Sizebox is a widget which we'll use as a to give a margin between the components or between the widgets, you can say. So we will just give it a width of, let's say, 10. So this is our size boxed. So as you can see, this is our container. It ends here, starting here, ends here, and then we have a size box as a second child of that row, and the third child of that row would be our text component or text widget. And we can say inside that text we will say our list, kittens list of particular index, and we will use the title. Let's say we have a name, yeah. So we can give this a text style as well. So let's say we just want to define this list item builder inside item builder here. So how you can do that? So for that item builder we have defined the whole function here, so we don't need to write the function again here. We just remove this thing and we just give it a reference of list item builder which we have just defined yet. So you don't have to give these parameters because it is by default getting these two, context and index, inside. So you are defining the whole function which has return type widget. So it will return this gesture detector as a widget, and it has container as a child, and then we have a row of we have children inside these rows: container, size box, and text. So let's save this and see what result you can see. So hit save. So we have a nice little list of kittens here, and it has image and name of those kittens as well. So this image is not showing here for some reason, so we will see it later on what is the problem. And we can give it a style a little bit. We can give a text style. So for that we will use a style property for the text, and for that style we need to use something like theme dot of context, and we will use text theme which is built in inside material dot dart, and we will use as a headline. Okay, so this headline has a um, text properties like font family, font weight, something like that. So we are using this built-in thing. So just hit save and you can see we have a nice text styling here. So for we need to define some of the padding inside the container as well. So we have a padding left to 16. Okay, so what else we can do? We can define this containers padding as well from let's say we can say add insects dot all, and we will remove this left property and just hit save, and you can see, oh, we have a nice little padding here as well. So we just reduce this padding to 10. Now at this list looking very perfect. So on top of each item we need to display this little dialog here as a list material dialog. So here on tab, what we can do here, we can define another function which is responsible to display our dialog as well. So what we call that function here, we can it will return a widget again, and we call that function like dialog builder. Okay, so it will also take build context and a particular kitten. Then when it holds the particular kitten, and that particular kitten has all the data, like if we pick the name Steve, it has age, 4, description and image URL, and we will display on the dialog like that. So it will take the kitten object like that, and we will build this. So we will build that widget very quickly. So we will return what we can return. There is a widget called SimpleDialog, and in that SimpleDialog, sorry guys, we have uh, content padding. So for content padding we will use edge insects sets dot 0. So 0 means we don't want to define any padding, so that this image would look very nice on each corner of that particular dialog on top. So we would use 0 padding, and let's give it a semicolon, and after the content padding we will use children, which will display inside that particular SimpleDialog. So this SimpleDialog is a built-in widget which display like this material dialog, and we will create its children in a bit. So first thing we need to display is image on top of that dialog. So we will use image dot, and it has a network function, and it takes the source. So for source, what we can say, we can have a kitten object, kitten. Okay, so we will say kitten dot image URL as a source, and then we have a property called fit, and we say box fit dot fill. So it will fill all of the corners on top of that particular dialog. So after that image we have you can say a widget called padding. So a padding widget takes the padding as a property, and we can define insects, edge insects. We can define the padding like dot all, and we can say we have to define 16 padding. So below the contents of this image we have a 16 padding from all side. So nothing fancy. Let's give it a child. Okay, we have a child property for that padding, and we will define a column. So first you have seen that how we can define row component, row widget, so that inside that row you have seen that we have an image, and after that we have a name of that kitten. Now we will define a column, because we need to define name, then age, and then we have description, and then on the bottom we have two buttons as well. So inside that column again it will take a list of children. So for that list of children we need to define a text widget. Okay, so for that text widget we have let's say we will use string interpolation. So we have a kitten object, and we use its age property like that. And okay, sorry, first we need to display the kitten dot name. So what we can say, we don't need to define this string interpolation, we just use kitten dot name, because at first we have kitten's name as well, and we give it a style like so we can define on top of that function something like theme data, so that we can use theme of we can use theme to styling our text. So theme data, we call it, let's say, local theme, and theme dot of context, that would be the object of theme data. So for that local theme, what we can do, we can okay, so we have a text theme, and for that text theme we have a display one property, so that will style that particular text widget. So next we will define another text. We will do it quickly so that our video will not take any longer than usual. So inside that, because age is a we took the age as integer, so we have to define inside our single quote, and we will use string interpolation. So dollar sign, we will use kitten dot age. Okay, so we will define months old. So kitten dot age would be dynamic, it will pick in this example let's say 3, and then months old will display as it is. So after that we will style this text as well. We have a style property, and we would say local theme object dot text theme dot display one again. Oh sorry, display one is for name, and it will be a bigger enough. So what we can do, we can say okay, local theme dot subheading, we need text theme and then subheading. So subhead dot copy with, and we will copy the subheading, and we give it a font style like that, font style dot italic, because this 3 months old is displaying as italic, so we have defined here. So next thing after that text component, we need to define a size box. So again, size box is used for giving a little padding or margin between the widgets. So we will give it a height of 16, let's say, and after that size box we will use a component or a widget which is called as align. So alignment widget is you know responsible to align our description text, and we will use another widget which we will call as wrap component. Okay, let's say alignment has an alignment property, and we can say alignment dot center right. We will use center right so that our description or our buttons will display like here from that right side of that dialog. Okay, so, and we forgot one thing here, which we need to define some text widget, and in that text we will say, what we can say, we need to display the description as well. So kitten dot description, and we will give it a style, and style would be local theme. Okay, dot text theme, and we have a body, something like body1, so it will display a text description. And after that we will say we have a child, and in that child we will use something like wrap. So wrap is another widget. It will take children, and we will define two of our buttons. So it has a property children, list of children, and first child would be a flat button. So flat button is very simple, it doesn't have any background, so we will use that flat button. So for that flat button we have a on pressed property, and we will do nothing but okay, we will just say navigator dot of context, and we will say pop. So what pop will do, it will dismiss the dialog which will display on the screen. So after that on press property we have a child property of flat button, and inside that child property we will use simple text, and that text would be I am allergic, let's suppose. And after that flat button we will use raised button, and that raised button also has on press property, and we will define nothing inside it, and it has a child property, and for that child property we will use text and adopt. So it's very simple. We have just defined our dialog builder, and now we will use this dialog builder to display on particular item. So use this function on top of this gesture detector. So we will not define any body inside on tab, we will just return that let's say show dialog, and inside that show dialog we have to define something like context, and after the context we will say we have a builder of that dialog. So builder takes the context, and it will return the widget that we have just created, which is called as dialog builder. So we just need to paste dialog builder and pass in the context and list of kittens of particular index. So here we are, we have just completed our dialog builder, and on top of that gesture detector. So we just press save. Okay, it's saying we have some syntax error. Okay, let's restart this application. We have nothing here. So what we are missing, we need to see. Okay, so in our build method we have defined this list item builder, and okay, so this is our list item builder, and this is our dialog builder.